Renaissance is the period of European history which covers the span between the 14th to 17th century. Renaissance was the era where people showed their willingness to die for their right to think freely. In this episode, we are going to discover more about the life of people during the Renaissance era, the political setup, art, inventions, new ideas, and more from the Renaissance era in detailed manner. Beautiful and powerful cities and states during the Renaissance. For most of the Europe, cities were important but they were under the authority of the countries. However, Italy was divided into powerful cities and Pope-ruled states. The Papal States located in Rome was officially the state of the Church. All the territories of the Papal States were under the direct control of the Pope. It looked like a church hierarchy ruling the spiritual land, but in truth, the Papal States were powerful administrators determined to expand their political base. Cities like Florence and Venice were the republics, which were controlled by nobles and budding capitalists. Naples was a kingdom and Milan was a Dutch territory. Collectively, all cities were part of Italy, but independently, all these cities had influence over trade, commerce, art, and power in Europe. The French invaded Italy in 1494, and Italian Renaissance became the French Renaissance. For Spain, the Spanish Renaissance period started in 1492. Spain was united under the King Ferdinand of Aragon with the blessings of Catholic Church. For countries like Belgium and Netherlands, the Renaissance was mostly about trade and commerce which made them rich. And as far as the English Renaissance is concerned, in England Renaissance started around 1520. However, English Renaissance flourished only under Queen Elizabeth I. Social life during the Renaissance. Life of European people during the Renaissance was full of art, music, literature, and opportunities to create wealth. Approximately one-fourth of the population was poor, and also slavery existed during the Renaissance. Europeans considered slavery as an economic option during the Renaissance. During the Renaissance, wealth distribution changed with the rise of banking systems. The bankers were not aristocrats, nobles, or kings, but they acquired a great amount of wealth. It seems the wealth was being redistributed. The nobles and kings relied heavily on banking loans to fund their wars and lifestyles. By the end of the 15th century, nobles and kings who have defaulted on their loans had lost their wealth to the commercial powers like banks. All the bankers, traders, and merchants were the staunch supporters of capitalism, which made Europe prosperous. The new hierarchy of power and authority was formed. This is the irony of our world. When we deny the old hierarchy of power, we immediately build the new one. Merchants, traders, and small businessmen were beneath the bankers in this new social and economic hierarchy. On the top of the hierarchy were the traditional noble class and merchant class that dominated cities. England was still a rural nation during the Renaissance, but London became one of the Europe's most populated cities and powerful trade center. Germany lagged behind in urban growth. However, it showed great progress in fields like metallurgy, mining, textiles, and banking. In addition, the invention of Gutenberg's printing press took place in Germany in 1440, which drew new ideas and knowledge to the people of all classes. Germans made their printing a commercial enterprise, and German printers dominated the field very well into the 16th century. By the end of the 1450, Europe had seen the rise of monarchy, the advances of technology, and the spread of knowledge due to the invention of printing press. Feudalism was the dominant social system in medieval Europe, in which noble class held land from the crown in exchange for their military services. Farmers were only allowed to live and work on those lands. But during the Renaissance, capitalism was on the rise, and it supports the right to private property. Therefore, feudalism became weak and the administrators or nobles had no longer control over the lands. Renaissance art. With money, wealth, and prosperity, Europe's focus shifted from mere survival to the cultural evolution. They funded many artists and scientists for new projects and emerged as the art patrons to support a thriving pool of talent. For an architect like Filippo Brunelleschi, the designs of classical Rome inspired his own work. Filippo designed Florence Cathedral of Italy with its 8-sided dome. It was regarded as the masterpiece of the new engineering world. He altered the way in which art was recreated. His paintings used linear perspective, which allowed him to paint from the viewer's point of view. Filippo Brunelleschi is considered as one of the founding fathers of the architectural renaissance. Three-dimensional paintings, architectural designs inspired by ancient Rome and Greek, and paintings by Michelangelo which showed the level of physical realism are some of the artistic milestones of the Renaissance. The lockets today you see with the photos of your loved ones inside it were first invented in England during the Renaissance. Religion and artists worked together as far as art and architecture was concerned. Pope Julius II, the warrior pope, commissioned Michelangelo to paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling, Raphael to paint the Stanzi di Raffaello in the Vatican, and Bramante to begin new St. Peter's Basilica. Renaissance literature. Antonio di Nebrija wrote the first book in any of the Romance languages during the Renaissance. The Romance languages are the modern languages that evolved from Vulgar Latin between the 3rd and the 8th centuries. They are Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian, and Romanian. Church itself also went through the evolution during the Renaissance. They translated their prayer in many local languages so that everyone could read and sing them. Another milestone was in 1547 when De Cervantes published a novel, which is regarded as the first modern European novel. During the Renaissance, literary work of William Shakespeare and books like 95 Theses by Martin Luther also made their mark. In addition, with the help of Gutenberg's printing press, it became easy to print and sell books. The brilliant minds of the Renaissance rediscovered their ancient roots with the rebirth of interest in the lost Greek and Roman heritage. They built many buildings and created art and literature around their lost heritage. Renaissance music. As was the case with so many of the Renaissance arts, even music took sides in religion. For Catholics, the Latin motet was preferred style of sacred music. But Protestants created different music. The chanson, a secular song, became one of the most popular musical forms of the 16th century. Music in the England, particularly the music style madrigal, was one of the areas in which the Renaissance influence was visible. Madrigal music style had its root in Italy and was a popular form of music throughout Europe. Religion, politics, secularism, and disasters. Revolution comes with consequences. Europe also witnessed political and religious unrest during the Renaissance. The whole of Europe was divided into Catholics who believed in church and Protestants who denied the church's authority and hierarchy of power. People started questioning the corrupt practices of popes and bishops. Many people denied the hierarchy of power and protested against the dirty politics that was being played in the church for gaining or maintaining authority. Many kings, nobles, and administrators tried to introduce secular policies so that both believers and non-believers could live in peace. Even the church tried to be part of secular politics but ended up executing many Protestants who questioned church on its politics and theology. Everyone, every state, every city, every noble and king, even every religious institution wanted to maintain their authority as well as expand their dominion. And by the end of the 15th century, Europe was torn apart by the war. The Catholic Church was busy fighting the war against people who questioned its authority. Other European countries like France, Spain, and England wanted to plunder the wealthy cities and states. This situation made Europe witness the 100 Years' War. The 100 Years' War was a long struggle between England and France over succession to the French throne. It lasted from 1337 to 1453. And who can forget the brave hearts like Joan of Arc, considered as the heroine of France. At the age of 18, she led the French army to victory over the English at Orleans. Joan was later captured and burned by the English and their French collaborators. For her bravery, Roman Catholic Church declared her as the Roman Catholic saint. Europe also witnessed the horrors of Black Death, also known as the Great Plague. It was so devastating that it is estimated to have killed 30 to 60% of Europe's population in the 14th century. Another notable war from the Renaissance was the War of Three Henrys. It was the eighth and the final conflict in the series of civil wars in France known as the Wars of Religion. It was a three-way war fought between King Henry III of France, leader of the Catholic League Henry of Lorraine, and the leader of Protestants King Henry of Navarre. This war lasted from 1587 to 1589. In the end, the leader of Protestants King Henry of Navarre became victorious while the other two Henrys died in the battle. Henry of Navarre became the Henry IV of France. He signed the Edict of Nantes, an official order from king and one of the first attempts to encourage religious tolerance. It granted religious peace to both Catholics and Protestants in France. However, deep division between Catholics and Protestants could not be erased, and in 1610, a Roman Catholic assassinated Henry. See, we humans are always in constant turmoil because of our lust for authority. World's authority and world's brutal force go hand in hand under the lash of fear and pay their daily taxes to the ignorance in wars and bloods and tears. This human behavior did not change even during the beautiful art period like the Renaissance. People who wanted power fought battles to maintain or gain it, but the arts enlightened those who enjoyed it. The Renaissance introduced us to many prominent artists whose talent made their world a living canvas.